everybody, I'm Raven Maureen, and today I'm going to be sharing with you how to sew McCall's 8452, which is a new skirt pattern out of the spring 2024 McCall's collection, and we're going to be making view C. So go ahead, grab your fabric, grab your sewing tools, and let's get started. So we're going to be making McCall's 8452 view C, and so if you look on the back, the suggested fabrics are dupioni, lightweight nylon, ripstop, taffeta. If the skirt that you're sewing requires a lining like view A, then the lining fabric of course as well, and then of course your measurements, and then your finished garment measurements down below. So you're going to need pattern piece number 1, which is the front, and you're going to cut 2, and make sure that you pay attention to all of the markings here. Once you cut it out, you're going to want to make sure that you mark every dot, corner, flap line, notches, all that good stuff. Pattern piece number 2, which is the back, and you're going to cut 2. Pattern piece number 11, which is the lower flap, and you're going to cut 4 of fabric, 2 of interfacing. Pattern piece number 10, this is your lower pocket, you'll cut 2. Pattern piece number 8, which is the upper pocket, cut 2. Pattern piece number 9 for the upper pocket, you're going to cut 2 of fabric, 2 of interfacing. Pattern piece number 4, which is the casing, and you're going to cut 2. Okay, we're going to take pattern pieces number 1, and as you can see, this is the center back here. You can tell by the 2 notches. We are going to pin and stitch this down at 5/8. Once you're done with your seam, go ahead and finish this edge and then press it to the right side. We're going to take this back to our sewing machine and do a top stitch, 2 rows of top stitching on this seam here. So I'm actually going to change my stitch length to about a 3, anywhere between a 3.2 and a 3.5, and I'm going to do my first stitch about a 1/4 inch away from this edge here. For the second line, I'm going to do it about 3/8 away from this first line. Okay, so we're gonna now start working on our pockets. These are our lamb chop pockets. So we're gonna take pattern piece number 9, and there is a little notch right here, and you want to make sure that the notch lines up with the notch on the pockets, and you want to also make sure that this is finished and that it's interfaced as well. So we will take this to our machines and do a 5/8 seam allowance on both pockets, followed by an understitch. Okay, so now we've got to make this pocket look like this one. So we've already done our 5/8 seam allowance, or we've already sewn down 5/8. Go ahead and trim down your seam allowance to about 3/8. And then take this to your iron and press this away from this pocket. So I've gone ahead and I've given it a good press. Your seam allowance should also be on this side, and you're going to top stitch along this edge here. Once you top stitch it, it'll automatically just press down, and you're going to do a basting stitch on this side and then on this edge here. Okay, so next you are going to top stitch along this edge here, and then you're also going to do a 5/8 stitch line along the raw edges here. You don't have to do it at the top, just along this side, down, across, and up. After you've made your stitching, go ahead and press in that seam allowance. That way you can prep your pocket so it can go on the front of the skirt. And that's what we're gonna do right now. Okay, so it's gonna look a little weird because the skirt is on a slant, but you should have dots here, 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 and here to help you navigate where this pocket needs to lie. So go ahead and take this to your sewing machine, and we're going to do 2 rows of top stitching for these pockets. All right, so now we're going to move on to our other pockets. These are the flaps. So we're going to stitch 5/8 of a seam allowance right here on both of these, and then you are going to turn them right side out, and then we will do top stitching just like we did the lamb chop pockets. Now you should have interfaced at least one of the flaps on both of them. And so let's take these to our machine and sew this up. Okay, now that these are sewn, we are going to trim down the seam allowances. All right, so we're gonna give this a good press and do some more top stitching at our machine. All right, so now that these are done, we're just gonna set these to the side right quick, and we're gonna work on the actual pocket that goes with these flaps. And so I have already gone ahead and pressed under 1/4 inch and then folded down. With this pattern piece, you should have already snipped in on this line here so you know where to fold down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a top stitch across both of these pockets, and then you're going to take this to your iron and you're going to press in those sides since we've already done our 5/8 stitch here. Okay, so we've gone ahead and pressed under the seam allowances, and now we're going to attach it to the front of our skirt. So just underneath your lamb chop pocket, there should be a set of dots here and then a set of dots right there. So you're going to place your pocket on the lower part, and then you're going to place your flap on the upper, just like that. So at our sewing machine, we are going to sew this down at 3/8 seam allowance. Then you're going to press down your flap and you're going to top stitch this at 3/8. A finger press is fine, but you can also take it to your iron and press it down as well. So just like we did the lamb chop pockets with 2 rows of top stitching, we are going to do the same for this pocket as well. So at this point, you would add your socket snaps here and here, and there are dots on your pattern pieces for that. In my version of this, I am going to leave those off and just keep these as a normal flap, but I would say that as a sewist, you are not limited to socket snaps. You could probably do Velcro in this area here if you wanted to. You could do denim snaps if your fabric was heavy enough. You can really put anything in this area, and you can even do traditional buttons if you want to. So the possibilities are endless. But for the sake of this tutorial, we are going to move on to the next step, which is going to be attaching our back skirt pieces. So on your front skirt piece, you should have a notch right here, and you have that same notch on the back skirt piece, and you are going to line up those notches right there. And we are going to pin these sides together, and then take this to our sewing machine, sew and finish the edges. Okay, so this seam is now finished, and so now we are going to join the center back seam, and you should see those 3 notches there. Okay, so the back should be top stitched with 2 rows, just like how we did the front, and finished as well. And so now we are going to work on our hem, and then we're going to move on to our waistband. So with the hem, you're going to do a 1/4 inch press, and then you are going to do a 5/8 and then top stitch all the way around. So now we're going to move on to pattern piece number 4, which is our waistband. So with view B and C, there are 2 holes for grommets. I recommend, if you are not familiar with a grommet installation, or if you are not comfortable with working with grommets just yet, you can also trade these out for buttonholes, and you can do like a 1/2 inch wide buttonhole right here, and a 1/2 inch button wide hole right there as well. For the sake of this for this tutorial though, I am going to move ahead with just making the waistband. So go ahead, and you should have marked these 2 dots right here, and you are going to sew from here to here, and from this dot just to the top. On this side, you will do a 5/8 stitch straight up and down. Once you're done stitching the line and pressing the seams open, you're going to fold the casing in half, wrong sides together, give it a good press, and we're going to baste this at our sewing machine. All right, so we have basted this down, and now we are going to line up our notches on the waistband and the skirt and pin it all together. When you pin your waistband to the skirt, make sure you can see this opening. That way when you sew it, that opening will actually be on the inside, and it'll be easier to slip stitch that when you are finished at the end. All right, so let's take this to the sewing machine and stitch a 5/8 seam allowance. So now we're gonna work on doing our stitch lines for the elastic. So you can use a seam gauge or anything that you may have similar to this. And you're gonna do a stitch line 5/8 from the folded edge, and then a stitch line 5/8 from the last stitch line. And we're gonna do that at our machine together. All right, so now that we've done our 2 rows for the elastic, remember you still have that opening here. So you're gonna grab your elastic, and we're gonna go over that in a minute. Now, if you're doing views B and C, then you're gonna do 2 rows of elastic. If you're doing view A, then it's 3 rows of the elastic. And you probably wanna use about a 1/2 inch elastic or a 1/4 inch elastic for this step. Okay, so the way you get your 2 pieces of elastic is you're going to measure around your waist, the smallest part, which is usually around your belly button, and you are going to kind of lay it just gently over the belly button area at 1 inch, and then that's your elastic piece. And then you just pretty much dupe that elastic piece and cut another one. Now you can do this with a safety pin, or you can do this with any sort of bodkin that you may have. Starting at the opening, go ahead and begin funneling your elastic piece through the casing. So once you're done funneling, excuse me, all of the elastic through your skirt, you're gonna knot it up, but also we're gonna take it to the machine, do a zigzag stitch over the elastic. Okay, so once you've done the zigzag stitch, all there is left to do is slip stitch this closed, add any additional hardware that you may want to add to this. And of course, if you haven't done your hem already, take care of your hem, but we are all set. Thank you guys so much for watching. Now, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button over on the Simplicity page. And don't forget, you can follow me and subscribe at Raven Maureen right here on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. See you next time. Bye.